Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by former IBF middleweight champion Darren Barker. Darren, how are you?
Very well, thank you, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Unfortunately, not in the happiest of circumstances doing this call, but the
Yeah.
boxing community lost a real legend in Tony Burns earlier this week. Someone who trained you and several, you know, famous, legendary even fighters at the Repton ABC in Bethnal Green. Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with Tony and what he meant to you.
Well, just I was absolutely devastated to hear the news yesterday night. My dad rang me first thing in the morning and told me, and it just instantly gutted, because he just played such an important role in my life, not just boxing. He just knew how to get the best out of me as a person and obviously as a boxer. And yeah, you talk about role models and you talk about mentors, and that's exactly what Tony was, not just to me and my brother and my dad, but to thousands of other budding champions, and just a real legend, an unsung hero, just someone who gave up his own time and money to help develop champion after champion. I think he had something like 300 national champions, and God knows how many representatives, England representatives, and Olympic Games medalists. He had all the Harrison and people that also were in different games, and just a real special person in an unconventional sort of way. He had his way about him, but one thing's for sure, that man bled green and gold, the Repton colours.
And your dad, as you've alluded to, boxed for Repton, of course. So did you know Tony to an extent before you started boxing?
Yeah, I'd heard my dad and my granddad talk about Tony, so I knew who he was. Definitely. Funny story, actually. When I went to Repton, I left Finchley Amateur Boxing Club when I was a kid. I remember getting the train down to Bethnal Green, and I walked through the door. I didn't even know who it was. I walked through the doors and said that I was going to be joining Repton, and they went, "All right, brilliant. Get your gear on, start training." And Tony was there, so I'd done my shadow boxing. I put my gloves on, and the first person I see was Tony Burns. I walked over to him with my glove like that for him to do it up, and he just looked at me like that and just walked off. And that's the first thing he'd done. And it was like something so silly like that in front. Remember, this club was banged out with superstars: Danny Appy, all the Harrison, Courtney Fry, just champion after champion in there, and they, all sort of giggling at me. And that little something he'd done there, that I remember it, and I remember at the time thinking, I haven't earned his respect yet. I need to, show I'm in this for the long haul, and I've got to show that I'm dedicated. And I'm going to wear the colours with pride. And years later, he'd do my gloves up. Do you know what I mean? So it's sort of a little message. So you're not there yet, but when he does do them, I might be like, wow, I'm getting there. I'll miss him for forever.
And you mentioned earlier his kind of unique style. What kind of set him apart as a trainer and as a teacher, a mentor?
Well, firstly, just an absolute no-nonsense attitude. This is boxing at the end of the day, and if you can't handle his personality, then you're not going to be able to handle boxing. You've got to be strong-willed. You've got to be strong mentally. And if Tony Burns can break you with just his presence, then you're not going to make it as a boxer. So yeah, it's certainly no nonsense, but someone that once you was one of his fighters, he had your back, and that always felt. You could always feel that presence, that someone was there, and it was a very special person, a well-respected person within boxing and in the East End of London. You're from there yourself, I'm sure you'd have heard about Tony. Not just a powerful man he was in boxing, but a powerful man in life, just for helping people. And it was just nice having that person, having your back, and just this, the way he had about him, that you just didn't want to let Tony down. You just wanted to do everything to to please him, and obviously that meant being as hard working as possible. It didn't mean winning. Sometimes you're going to come up against people that are better than you, but as long as you give it everything, you give your heart and soul to that contest, and you wear those green and gold colours with pride, that's enough for Tony. It wasn't always about winning.
What were the key things he improved about your boxing? Because obviously you talked about going in there and being surrounded by champions. You became a very esteemed champion yourself, Commonwealth Games gold medalist as well. So what did he do to be a part of that?
Numerous things. One of them being just to believe in myself. He didn't say it in that, as directly as that, but in his way, it was just about, believe in yourself and express yourself in that ring. That was one thing. And I think I'm a very naturally competitive man. I want to win everything. If I'm walking along the street and there's someone in front of me, they don't even know I'm racing them, but I've got to try and overtake them. Like I'm sick in the head like that. I've got to win. And I think with Tony, he installed patience in me. It wasn't like, get stuck in, take your time. And anyone who knows about Repton will know that there's sort of their style of boxing was very, the pure form of the sport, on your back foot, almost like a fencing style. And he taught me to be quite technical. He taught me about taking my time, don't rush in. Sometimes he would be happy if you were sparring. I can remember clearly a spar with Danny Happy. We didn't throw one punch in a round. We went back to the corner and he was happy with us. He was happy that we didn't throw any shots. It got to a point where we're trying to suss each other out, but then we couldn't find the openings. And Tony, instead of you wasting something, wait till the next round. Don't be silly. And though he didn't want you to fight like that, not throwing any shots, he wanted you to have that patience installed into you. So when it comes in fight night, you don't make any mistakes, because we all know that the difference between winning and losing is that it's a fine line, and it's just that over eagerness sometimes can be the difference, falling over your front foot and getting countered with a right hand. And Tony definitely got that into me. And yeah, as you said there, it proved to be a winning formula for me.
In some gyms, it seems like the head coach tends to spend most time with the, England reps and so on, and gets his delegates to work with the lower level boxers or people that don't even want to have a fight. But from what I've heard about Tony in the last couple of weeks, he was very hands-on with everyone. Brilliant
question, mate. And I'm glad you said that, because I would have brought it up anyway. Like I touched on before, it wasn't always about winning with Tony. It was about, being in there and giving it your best as an individual. But also with Tony, he understood in a very modest way, without giving it the big, and he understood how important he was to all of these individuals. And sometimes the good fighters like myself and all the other champions, some I've named, didn't really need him as much as the others. We was all right. We was on our path. We'd already been exposed to the genius that was Tony. So then it was his time to plant seeds into other fighters. And he'd done it so well, again, in his unorthodox way, but it worked. And yeah, it was, you got to remember, if you're representing that club, don't matter if you're the king of Repton or one of the lower lot, you're his children, and he wants the best for you. So it didn't matter who you was or what you won or what you was winning. He wanted to help everyone, and he done that. And that goes for everyone down that club. It's a special place, but he certainly is and will forever be Mr. Repton.
Your brother Gary was obviously a very good fighter at Repton in his own right. You tragically lost him at quite a young age. How important was Tony and the Repton family after that took place in helping you kind of get through it?
Massive. All of the family. We've got long ties, like you said, with the club, with my dad, etc., and my brother. But it hit us all hard. And when I say us, I mean the Repton family. Tony, took it badly. It really, really hurt Tony. And a lot of the other personnel down the club, if you go there now, it says the Darren Barker Gymnasium. And I think that says everything. But yeah, Tony he helped us, he really did help us. You know, you got to remember I was a professional when my brother died, but still Tony played a big part in my career as a pro, and he was always on the end of the phone if I needed to speak to him. But yeah, Tony and the rest of the Repton family were very important at helping us get over the grief of losing my brother.
Just to kind of round off, how would you like to see the boxing community and the wider world, I guess, remember Tony Burns?
Well, firstly, talking about his achievements as a coach and what he's done. First and foremost, you know, the numbers and the titles say it for itself. You know, he was an absolute genius. I also would like the community to remember what he'd done for so many people and how many people he saved from going down the wrong road and living a life of crime. He saved an awful lot of people. But I would also, most importantly, like people who knew Tony to continue to tell the stories of Tony, because they're brilliant. They're brilliant. They're so uplifting and motivational and funny. There's a mixture of the stories when it comes to Tony. And I done an Instagram live with my good mate and old teammate, Ryan Pickard, who was the club captain at Repton and now the vice chairman. So I'm the vice president down at Repton and he's the vice chairman. And we were just on there telling stories about Tony. And I'll leave this with one story, and this is a typical sort of Tony Burns way. Just before, and I've told the story, so apologies if anyone's heard it, just before the Commonwealth Games final in Manchester, I'd been with the England team for numerous weeks, and get to the venue, the old MEN, Manchester Arena, whatever it's called now, and I go upstairs and I see my family, and I see Tony in the corner. So I walked over to Tony, and me and him walked over. He said, "Come over here." And he said, "Darren, I've just had Harry Lawson on the phone." For anyone who don't know, Harry Lawson was a Repton fighter that represented, I think it might have been Scotland actually, in the Commonwealth Games. I don't know, 3 or 4 games previous. He said, "I've just had Harry on the phone," and Harry said, "Make sure you tell Darren to leave everything in the ring, because I lost in the final and it still eats away at me today. I'm still annoyed and frustrated I didn't win that gold medal. So tell Darren that." So Tony told me that story. I went, "All right then, Tony, I'll do it. I'll leave it all in the ring." Anyway, I did. I won the fight. And I see Tony after, and he would never give you praise, you know, though he's buzzing and beaming with pride. He just looked at me and winked and gave me a little smile. And I didn't think nothing of it, but later that night I laid down, I thought to myself, I bet he didn't even talk to Harry Lawson. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I bet he didn't even talk to him. And that was the sort of man he was. You know, he just knew how to plant seeds and get the best out of you. And, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to keep telling the tales and the story of Tony Burns, because the man is a hero and a legend and will be missed by many.
I really appreciate your time, mate. And obviously condolences on the loss as well. I know it's felt by everyone, but you knew him better than most.
Nice one, mate. Thanks.
Hopefully we'll catch up again soon in happier circumstances.
Yeah. Dan, always a pleasure, mate. You take care.
And you, mate. Take care. Speak soon.
Bye, mate. Bye.